Come, let us explore what you don't know about Yin and Yang. It is commonly thought that Yin and Yang are purely Taoist concepts, and while those terms are Chinese, the idea is universal. Over the Himalayas and in India, a similar concept was explored. It was taught that the Buddha was flexible, whereas his foolish cousin Devadatta was rigid. It was taught that the Buddha was loving, where his cousin was fearful. The Buddha was rational, where his cousin was superstitious. The Buddha was laid back, where his cousin was controlling. The Buddha was egalitarian, where his cousin was elitist. The Buddha was lucid, where his cousin was cryptic. The Buddha was cooperative, where his cousin was competitive. The Buddha was kind, where his cousin was cruel. Now, the majority of us are raised in cultures wherein we are indoctrinated to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. We're told this is how to be a winner. We're told this is how to be an idealistic loser. But the fact of the matter is, due to neuroplasticity, we can change. We can evolve. This reminds me of Sturgeon's Law, which teaches that 90% of everything sucks, but not in the fun, tingly way. The majority of people in every demographic can be described thusly, whether they are talking about people grouping vocationally, or spiritually, or secularly, or recreationally. They're going to find a lot of people who are described this way. Most of us are raised to be this way. When we live this way, we are virtual slaves to our amygdala, to its anxiety, and to its aggression. When we rely upon our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems to practice mindfulness and meditation, not only do we soothe the aggression and anxiety of our amygdala, but we stimulate our anterior cingulate gyrus, the seat of that which functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy, which is itself the root of compassion and love. And so the journey from being defined by Yang's attributes, the attributes of religious patriarchy, to being defined by spiritual matriarchy, need not take long. The question is not what do we feel, but what controls us, what controls our choices, what controls our utterances, what controls our deeds. To the journey from patriarchy to matriarchy is paved with the effective practice of mindfulness and meditation. Having concluded our opening lesson, we now transition to meditation. It is General Leia Organa's Saturday evening. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So let us play with the Song of Mahamudra Sadhana. One moment. Let's begin with the first quarter of Tilopa's Song of Mahamudra, written by Tilopa, translated by Garama C.C. Chang, adapted and amplified by yours truly. We begin with the first quarter. Please chant with me. The Mahamudra, which translates as a great seal, is beyond all words and symbols. But for you, Naropa, earnest and loyal, must this be said. The void needs no reliance, Mahamudra's great seal rests on naught. Without making an effort but remaining natural, one could break the yoke of oppression, thus gaining liberation. If one actively looks for naught when staring into space, if with the mind one then observes the mind, one destroys the tyranny of distinctions and reaches Buddhahood. The clouds that wander through the sky have no roots, no home, nor do the distinctive thoughts floating through the mind. Once the self-mind is vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly seen during or inhalation, the tyranny of discrimination's duality stops as we relax into our exhalation. One moment, if you please. Let's try this again. In space, shapes and colors appear to form, but neither by black nor white is space tinged. Oops, wrong button. From the self-mind, the perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination of all things emerge. The mind by virtues and vices is not stained. The darkness of ages cannot shroud the glowing sun. The long aeons of samsara's tyranny of all competitive instincts can never hide the mind's brilliant light. Can never hide the mind's brilliant light like awareness. Congratulations. Welcome to the first quarter of this evening's Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. To keep track of the first quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right little finger upon the tip of our left little finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the bladder region of our lower abdomen. The most efficient way to practice mindfulness is to silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, thus cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, or imagination. The most efficient way to practice meditation is to silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, thus cooperating with our parasympathetic nervous system to physically relax and mentally release in a manner that causes that which we noticed during our previous inhalation to fleetingly feel less tantalizing, less permanent, and less defining. Come together as a team. Let us meditate right now. Good evening, and welcome to the second quarter of Tilopa's Song of Mahamudra. Together. The words are spoken to explain the void. The void as such can never be meaningfully expressed. Though we might say the mind is a bright light. I always like transforming metaphors into similes. I feel there's less confusion that way. Though we say the mind is like a bright light, in an effort to express the luminosity accessed during or inhalation. And the non-graspability felt during or exhalation, it is beyond all words and symbols. Although the mind feels void in essence as we relax into our exhalation, it seems to embrace and contain all things as we notice during our inhalation. Do not with the body, but relax, shut from the mouth, and silent remain. With exhalations, empty mind, actively contemplate not. Like a hollow bamboo, rest your body, rest at ease your body. Giving, not nor taking, put your mind at rest. The great seal of Mahamudra is like a mind that during its relaxing exhalation clings to naught. Thus practicing in time you could reach Buddhahood. Thus practicing in a relatively short time you could reach Buddhahood. The practice of mantra and paramita are perfections. Instructions in sutra and sila precepts. And teachings from the schools and scriptures will not bring realization of the natural truth. For if the mind, when filled with some desire, should seek a goal, it only obscures the light. So let's explain this for a moment. Earlier this evening, we discussed how when we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we cooperate with our sympathetic nervous system to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice. Notice how relaxed that is. It's the opposite of concentration, which is very, very rigid and very, very contracted. When we are reaching for a specific goal, it is a very, very, very tense and controlling circumstance. When we are just going with the flow, It's completely different. So going for a specific goal, we are stuck in our prefrontal cortex, which inevitably is going to trigger our amygdala. When we are going with the flow, we are in our autonomic nervous system and stimulating our anterior cingulate gyrus, which is the seat of empathy. So these are radically different neurologies. Let's continue. One who keeps tantric precepts yet falls prey to the tyranny of discriminations. Duality of dread and desire betrays a vows of awakening. So there's a difference between feeling dread and desire and being absolutely controlled by it. And we're not talking about knowing the difference between dog dew and chocolate. We're talking about just as a rule, having our choices, utterances, and deeds absolute slaves to our survival instincts. Our survival instincts are splendid when they're tools, but when they are on overdrive all the time, it messes up our life. Together. Therefore, cease all neurotic activity, abandon all the tyranny of desire. Let thoughts rise and fall as they will, like ocean waves. So, this is inferring that our task is not one of repression. It's one of process. Whatever dread or desire we are buffeted with, if we notice it vulnerably during our inhalation and relax as best we can during our exhalation, then it will not control our choices, utterances, and deeds. We might perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We might notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. But that's not the same as being controlled by them. Let's continue. No one who never homes the practice of relaxing into non-abiding emptiness, nor the principles of non-duality upholds the tantric precepts. So every time we relax into our exhalation, we experience emptiness. Non-abiding this means things are changing all the time. We're not resisting it. We're not fretting over it. We're not condemned by it. They who abandon the tyranny of craving and clinging after this or that perceive the real meaning given in the scriptures. In the great seal of Mahamudra, all one's so-called sins are burned. In Mahamudra, one is released from the prison of this world. Un momento, por favor. This is the Buddha's teachings of Dharma Supreme Torch. Those who rejected or fools who will ever wallow in misery and sorrow. To strive for liberation, one should rely upon the instructions of a guru. When your mind receives the blessings of the guru's guidance, emancipation is at hand. Welcome to this evening's second quarter of Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. To keep track of this second quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right ring finger, upon the tip of our left ring finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the navel region of our mid-abdomen. As we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, we cannot help but notice the antics of mind. As we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we cannot help but relax into mind's non-graspable nature. Good evening. Let us chant the third quarter of Tilupa's Song of Mahamudra. Alas, all things in this world are meaningless, they are but sorrow seeds. Small teachings lead to neurotic acts, one should only follow teachings that induce profound peace. To transcend the tyranny of duality is the kingly view. To conquer the tyranny of distractions is the royal practice. The path of no practice is the way of Buddhas. One who treads this path reaches Buddhahood. Transient is this world, like phantoms and dreams, as if it was unsubstantial. Grasp not the world, know your kin. Cut the strings of desire and dread. Meditate in the woods and mountains. If without ever you remain loosely in the natural state, soon Mahamudra you will win and attain the non-attainment. So non-attainment is a weird thing. It's word sounding. What does it mean? So non-attainment is the idea that we master the path effortlessly. That mastery of the path is not something we cling on to with white-knuckle intensity. Perhaps you're familiar with the phrase, the path is the goal. In the vast expanse of Vajrasattva, it is taught that the fulfillment of all our spiritual commitments is satisfaction in the path. So in other words, the fourth enlightenment factor is joy. When we practice in a way that is not arduous, that is not something we endure to get a payoff, but which is in itself the payoff, then we really have something together. Cut the root of a tree and the leaves will wither. Cut the root of your mind and samsara's tyranny of our survival drives falls. Let's try that again. Cut the root of your mind and samsara's tyranny of our survival drives falls. The light of any lamp dispels in a moment the darkness of long aeons. The strong light of mind's awareness in but a flash could burn the veil of ignorance. How does that work? As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation can seem fleetingly less enchanting, less permanent, and less defining. It's just that simple. It's not a question of belief. It's a question of living in cooperation with with our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Whoever clings to mind sees not the truth of what is beyond the mind. Whoever strives to practice Dharma finds not the truth of beyond practice. The sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path could be described as the effortless effort of our choices, utterances, and our deeds flowing from love's centered spontaneity. To live in this way is beyond practice. One should cut cleanly through the root of mind and notice with naked vulnerability. One could thus break away from each tyranny of duality and remain at ease. Welcome to this evening's third quarter of Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. To keep track of this third quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right middle finger, upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite the real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce in the heart region of our chest. Remember, when we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we cannot help but notice mind's antics. When we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we cannot help but relax into mind's non-graspable nature. We come now to this evening's fourth and final quarter of Tilopa's Song of Mahamudra. One could not give or take, but rather remain natural. For Mahamudra is beyond the tyranny of all acceptance and rejection. Since awareness is as non-graspable as if it were not born, no one can obstruct or soil it. Staying in this unborn realm, all appearances could dissolve into the ultimate dharma of non-graspability. Staying in this unborn realm of all appearances could dissolve into the ultimate dharma of non-graspability. All self-will and pride could thus vanish into naught. The supreme understanding transcends all entanglements of this and that. The supreme action of centered spontaneity embraces great resourcefulness without attachment. This supreme accomplishment is to realize our inherent Buddha nature without greed. At first a yogi feels like the mind is tumbling like a waterfall. In mid-course it could feel like the Ganges flowing slow and gentle. In the end it could feel like a vast ocean, where the lights of childlike awareness and mother-like voidness merge into one. Good evening and welcome to this evening's fourth and final quarter of Mindful Crease Counting Meditation. To keep track of this quarter, we could rest the great knuckle at the base of our right index finger, upon the tip of our left index finger, palms up in our lap. Doing so could gently invite our real or imagined subtle energies to coalesce at the crown region of our head. When we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we cannot help but vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice mind's antics of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, and imagination. When we silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease during our exhalation, we physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that what we noticed during our previous inhalation can feel less graspable, that our desires and dreads can feel less graspable, that our resistance to the absence of what we desire, as well as our resistance to the presence of what we dread, could also feel less graspable. So together as a team, let us practice mindfulness and meditation right now. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist philosophy, or Buddhist meditation, please type your question in great detail in the chat window. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early morning meditation class and group practice. Did I say 11? I should have said 10 3/4. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.